This is The Art of Prepping. Thanks for joining the channel today. We have a short video talking about how long should you ideally prep for. And this is prepping for people who are new to the channel, or maybe who's just kind of passing through, or this was a suggested video and you don't know what I'm talking about. Prepping for what, you may say? Well, prepping for survival, prepping for an emergency. Maybe it's just you lost your job, or maybe you have to be confronted with something of a horrendous nature. Maybe it's something that a grid down, a long power outage. Maybe you're stuck in a winter storm and you literally can't get out for weeks. What is the time frame though that you would justify in your mind as okay and acceptable for preparation? Some people would say, well, I'm just a short-term prepper. I just want to have a couple weeks to weather storms, power outages, maybe a tornado, and I am good to go. And then you have other people who want a lot more capability. Now, over the decades of studying this and being in this field, I can tell you without a doubt that there tends to be, and this is something that I've really reviewed over and over for a long time, there tends to be about 6 different I would say so far, what I'd go so far as say is there are categories of people who look at longevity. So there's 6 different categories of longevity that I'm gonna go over real quick. The first category is people who have up to 1 to 3 months. And those people are those that, that believe that, okay, it's just a local emergencies. It's gonna be things that eventually get on their feet. They typically never really have experienced anything much more than a week or two of being self-sufficient in emergency. So they don't really have a lot of reason to think that they would need much more than maybe like 4 to 8 weeks at most. Some of them go up to 3 months. Those are the more kind of conservative individuals that want to have more redundancy. But in the back of their minds, they typically think that they're never going to be able to, or never really have to use, 3 months of anything. But that's the kind of the first tier. Now, the next tier would be the 3 to 6 month preppers. These people kind of look at things, okay, and they go, okay, we definitely acknowledge that there's short-term emergencies, weather-related and power-related and all these things, but we also kind of believe that there could be regional catastrophes, and to weather those, we believe that we need to have a little bit more in reserve, and those are the 3 to months kind of type of people. And so that typically seems like, in my opinion, the bulk of preppers. The newbies do the 1 to 3 months, if they're even lucky to get that far. And then you have the mainstream prepper is 3 to 6 months. This is what I've noticed. Now, those who are kind of trying to, and it's usually after a few years of having the 3 to 6 months of supplies, they kind of started to wake up a little bit more to the possibility and the reality that things could be a lot worse. They start reading more about EMP disasters, pandemics, and so forth. And these are the ones that go to 6 to 9 months typically. These are for widespread regional and maybe even partial national disasters that could be from a power plant melting down, maybe a nuclear power plant, maybe a large-scale terrorist attack. And like we said, maybe it's a type of pandemic, God forbid, and so forth. And so these are the people who are on the track, and they don't even know it yet, to being a little bit more hardcore prepper. It just takes them a little bit more time to get there. The fourth category I would say is the 9 to 12 month, or the 1 year. Basically the 1 year prepper is what I call it. And these preppers totally acknowledge that there could be a full-on national emergency, a full-on long-term down grid situation, grid down, or constantly rolling blackouts or brownouts, whatever you want to call it. And maybe even go so far as to say that that there could be some major death toll, and this could also include a really substantial, nasty pandemic. These are the people that is really, I don't want to say this is the second most common, because a lot of people don't have 9 to 12 months of food in reserve and other supplies. But this is kind of like the goal for most people. When you really talk to them, they'll say this is kind of their goal. They may not ever get there, or maybe they're on their way now, but they're typically not there. But this is something that people shoot for. And I think it's just a simple number. When you say like 1 year, it sounds good. It sounds like, wow, if I can survive a whole year by myself, man, I could probably weather most things. And I think it's true. I think you could probably weather the majority of different emergencies, probably anywhere from 90 to 95% of emergencies you could probably weather, seriously. So it's a very good way and a very good, a good time frame to have for self-sufficiency. Now, this is the next category. And these are certainly the professional preppers, they're very much more advanced preppers. And these are much more rare in number. I don't probably know any of these people that have this capability, but it's the 1 to 2 year. These are for those unbelievable types of catastrophes that could be, well, I would have to say of an epic proportion. Major pandemics, major infrastructure problems, maybe even the loss of our government, things that are so long-term. It could be super earthquakes, volcano eruptions that we couldn't even know about, things that we just couldn't foresee that would disturb the nation for years to come. And just to get on our feet again, just to get the food supply up to an acceptable amount to even sustain ourselves, it could take 2 years. So these are the 1 to 2 years, most likely I call them the 2-year preppers. And these are much more rare. Now, in the next category, the 6th one is really like these are the, I don't know if you would call them prepper extremes, but these are like, and it's in a good way now. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having capability, but these are so rare. This is way less than maybe 0.5%. Way less probably than that. And these are the people who have 2 to 5 years of prepping. I call them the 5-year preppers. These are pretty much people that won't ever tell you that they prep. These are very low-key people typically. And this is why they have to be low-key, because they have capability. These people basically prepare for the worst of the worst. I mean, I'm talking about epic annihilation, nuclear holocaust, nuclear winters. We're talking about there is no grid coming back. Basically, this is the sustainability element that these people don't just have preps for anywhere from 2 to 5 years. They have sustainability that goes beyond, typically in the form of a homesteading, pioneering technology, and basically long-term, if not complete sustainability for there on out. So they have reserve, but they also have capability to continue, beyond their reserve. And that's the key about this. And we should all take notes from these people. Now, these people, though, have really typically been in this for many decades, and they've had a lot more time and ability to funnel resources into this particular lifestyle. And that's the key word, lifestyle. These people would have to say that this is what they do, almost on a full-time basis. They may have a full-time job, but they also have another full-time job, and that's to beef up their homestead and to keep, a means of preparation that is so far beyond the average citizen, that the average citizen would automatically by default say that they have probably a mental illness, that these people are extremely paranoid, and these people are not well. And they would also may even seem to have an imbalance, possibly, because they don't share a lot of the social norms. And so this is interesting. So that's just what I've come up with over the years, and watching forums and talking to people. This is what I've put together. These 6 different categories. And I'm not going to ask you personally what category you fall in. That's a personal thing. But just in your own mind, know where you are in this list. Know if that's where you feel comfortable. Do you need to up that? Do you need to maybe expand a little bit? And so how long should you ideally prep for? For an emergency, maybe a long-term one, that's up to you. But just remember, when you don't have it and you need it, you're going to wish you have it. And so you can almost never have enough of anything. And this is what you get. A lot of people stigmatize preppers for being hoarders. And once again, and I'm not going to go through the whole explanation again, but hoarding is a completely different activity and behavior than prepping. We prep with intention and with specific focus to meet our needs and to reduce suffering and death for those around us, including ourselves. And if you think that's being paranoid, then you, my friend, probably have the mental illness. You're the one that's misled, and unfortunately, you would be one of the first people who may perish, and God forbid. And so we don't want that. That's why this channel is trying to grow so fast. We're trying to reach a lot of people. And because even if all you do and all you get from this channel is that next time you go to the grocery store, you double up on your groceries and you have a little reserve so you can get through that next bad winter storm that locked you in, and you had the provisions to get through that, you will get a taste for what this is all about. Because when you figure out that if you didn't have that, you could have literally caused a lot of suffering in your family and had a lot of hardship, and then been a charity case and would have had to possibly beg to your neighbors for some food. And if that doesn't humble you, I don't know what will. And it would even humble you more if you don't have contingencies for much larger emergencies that do happen, and you have nothing and no resources to fall back on, no skill sets and no knowledge. And you're waiting for public safety. You're waiting for the National Guard to show up to rescue you. My friends, you have to be your own rescue, and be a rescue to your family. You know, this whole idea that you are going to rely on other people for the majority of your things, if not everything, is a delusion. And the government is not going to be there, and they typically have never been there when you needed them. And so I promote heavily to have the respect for yourself and your family to do things now, while there isn't an emergency or while there is availability. There are things going on right now in this country, and it's just toward the end of August of 2016, and this video is made, that people are dealing with flooding. The flood emergency down in the southeast of the country is horrific. I wish everyone well down there, and my subscribers down there, I wish you the best. I hope for a very speedy recovery. And this is something that can happen, though, for a lot of people if you don't have a contingency. And I just hope that everybody can look around in the world. Just because some things don't happen in America or in other first world countries doesn't mean it can't happen. Look around the world and see what happens, and see what kind of fallout to the people that occurs. Look at the death and suffering and tell me if this isn't real, because it is. And it's real easy when you haven't had to experience these things firsthand, or that the type of emergencies or disasters are on a limited basis, and you're like, oh, that's not a problem. That was just a really small tornado and I got through it, so what? It could have been your house that got the roof torn off and all of your supplies and all your belongings sucked right out of your home and blown across the city. And if you think it can happen, ask around. And it's really easy. I mean, I've talked to my neighbors and found out some horrible things have happened in their life. And this is just in their lifetime. And these are some young people, and they've experienced some bizarre things that you wouldn't think they could even happen. You know, and you're like, how did that happen? And they just said, well, that's Mother Nature, or that's just some things that happen. I mean, there's people who deal with small earthquakes on a monthly basis. There's people who live next to a volcano and deal with magma release, you know, and lava coming down. I mean, there's all kinds of hazards. And while we don't want to sit there and dwell on it every moment of the day, just take 5 minutes, you know, out of the week and maybe apply a plan. And then make that plan operational and put some action behind it over the coming months and weeks, so that you can actually have an actual reserve, and then you can kind of forget about it for a while. I'm not saying you should dwell on it, but there's so many people who don't even want to think about it, because that means that they have to do something about it, and they have to be responsible. And God forbid if our society is any more responsible. I mean, that would be a shame. So, you know, these people, man, are the problem for a lot of the preppers, because they're the ones that are going to be the desperate hordes, the desperate masses that are going to be a threat to us. And that's why we want to promote them to take care of themselves, because we can't care for everyone. In fact, a lot of us preppers only have enough resources just barely to even prep for ourselves. So how can we take care of our whole community? And this is the big thing. If people don't get the understanding of what preparation is and personal responsibility for them and their family, then it's just going to cause problems for everyone. Everyone will suffer. And that's why I do this mainly. It's not because I don't have the ability to prep a little bit, or people I know. It's because of everyone else. And I don't want everyone else not having any kind of preparation, because now I'm the oddball. Now I'm the one that's eating and they're starving. I'm the one with shelter and they have no roof on their house. I'm the one that's actually like having lights on in my house, and they're in the dark in the middle of the night. And that can be a problem. So I don't want any more problems. I want everything to be a lot more flowing and a lot more gravy train, if you will. And so let's just go ahead and share the message to everyone we know. It can be in a very low key and a very unintimidating, you know, fashion. It could be something that it's just a passive conversation, like, oh, you know, did you see those floods down south, or did you see that storm over there in the west, or did you see that heat storm? So how would you deal with it? And just bring it up in a conversation and let the conversation just fade out naturally, and not pound away and seem like that you're just fixated on it. But let people know that, you know, it's something that's real and you've considered it, and you don't have to tell them what you've been doing about it. You can just simply bring up a conversation, and you might be surprised that a lot of people share those concerns, and that they might say, hey, you know, I think what I'm going to do the next time I go out is get a couple of rolls of duct tape at Walmart and some plastic sheeting, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe get some extra food while I'm there, because, you know, that's a good idea to have a little backup. And sometimes people just are not of the mindset, because people are in that rat race. They're running around, rush, 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 rush. And they don't even have a lot of time, because they don't allow them time just to think, just to be themselves, just to do things that are like very common sense that was done over hundreds and thousands of years, that all of our ancestors did, was to put things back. But people these days are so convinced that the McDonald's and the Walmart and the Home Depot are always going to be there. They're never going to be closed, and they're always going to be fully stocked. And that's complete baloney. You and I know this, but a lot of people are just living in fantasy worlds. And so if you're of any mindset and you respect yourself in any manner, prepare the best you can. Use my channel as a resource. I have over 500 videos now, and you can look at these videos and get a lot of information, at least to get an outline. By the end of the year, I will have my ebook done if everything goes well. I'm about 20% done on my ebook. And you can use that as a resource and at least get an idea of the parameters and the categories and some philosophy of how to prep. As always, you guys take care. Catch you real soon.